EMP Series, Day 11. I woke rested and refreshed from the first full night's sleep I had in a while. Pastor was coming down out of the tower as Greg and I walked up the pavilion steps. Steve and Richie not far behind us. Lee, Linda, Cheryl, and Sadie had breakfast going, and Callie was with Jolie, attending to Catherine. David and Josh were sleeping down in one of the classrooms in the church basement. It was cold this morning. Frost on the window cold. The garage under the pavilion had a wood stove, as did Aaron and Callie's house. We had one guy assigned to cutting and stacking firewood at all times, and up to 3 guys sometimes. We decided to pull the mowers out and put them in the garage under Aaron's house. We cleared the pavilion garage out completely and stacked a load of firewood in one bay at the end. We set up 4 long tables with chairs, and this area would now serve as our common area for the group. We would eat there, have worship service there, and any other group function or activity as well. It was a very large garage of about 1,800 square foot total, consisting of 4 large bays and a 600 square foot workshop on one side. We hung tarps over the garage doors on the inside in an attempt to keep the heat in. We talked about setting up beds and cots so that we could all sleep there when the cold of New England winter set in. Aaron's house had 2 bedrooms and a pull-out couch in the living room, and we could put cots in there as well. Between the 2 places, heated with wood stoves, we could adequately house all of us easily. We had a decent supply of propane and would use it sparingly for the infirmary and Steve and Cheryl's camper. It had been a pretty mundane morning of work getting ready for winter and just seeing to the everyday tasks in camp. Jolie and Josh came over looking for Callie. It was time to give Catherine another pint of blood. The fever hadn't subsided and the infection showed no sign of improvement. Jolie had decided that, improvement or not, she had to get the bullet out. She felt it would be better to wait until Catherine's fever went down. But how long could she afford to wait? She decided to give her one more day. Tomorrow she would try to take the bullet out no matter what. Josh overheard Greg tell Steve that the firewood processing would go a lot faster if we used the chainsaw instead of the bow saw to cut the limbs off of the downed tree. We just couldn't afford to use any gas if we didn't have to. Josh told him that there was a lot of gas back at their house, which was about 12 miles away. He said they had 3 full 5-gallon cans in the garage for the lawnmower and the dirt bikes, and that he had been with Neil the day before the EMP went off, when he filled the family van at the convenience store. It now sat in their garage under their house, inoperable. We figured it held 15 to 20 gallons, plus the 15 gallons in the cans was 30 to 35 gallons. The power wagon would probably use 2 gallons going out and back. The question was it worth the risk of the trip for a few gallons of gas? Josh also told us that Neil had 3 100-pound propane tanks and a large propane space heater that he used to heat his workshop in the winter. He told us Neil had just had them filled as well. We decided that between the gas and the propane and whatever else we could salvage, that the trip would be worth the risk. The boys knew the house layout, so it was decided that they would go with Steve and Richie to the Timothy home, while the rest of us continued our work here. They left just before noon. Richie had his AR-15 and Steve had his M4. Both had 9mm sidearms. David had Neil's Smith & Wesson 9mm and Greg's shotgun. Josh had Aaron's shotgun and my Ruger 9mm. They rode along the power line trail, which was slow going, and got to the Timothy home around 3. They siphoned the gas from the minivan and an additional 7 gallons from Neil's Jeep. They loaded the gas cans and the heater and the propane from Neil's shop onto the truck and went through the house to see if they could salvage anything else. They took pillows and sleeping bags and blankets and some heavier winter clothes and 3 cases of bottled water. In the bathroom medicine cabinet was an almost full bottle of Vicodin pain meds. Neil had underwent a knee replacement surgery earlier that year and was given the prescription by his doctors. He put them in the medicine cabinet knowing they were there if his knee bothered him too much, and he needed them. He didn't like taking pain meds, and when he had to, they made him sick if he took more than 1 or 2 doses consecutively. He would only use them if absolutely necessary. Steve grabbed them, along with some Advil and extra-strength Tylenol that were there as well. They also took the propane cylinder from the gas grill on the patio. And as Steve was heading back around the front with the propane cylinder from the grill, one of the Timothy's neighbors came out of the woods with a shotgun and demanded we give him food. David knew him and attempted to reason with him, but he wasn't hearing it. He just kept repeating, "Show me what you got in the back of that truck." He lifted the shotgun up and pointed it right at David. Richie was already behind the wheel inside the truck, and Josh was sitting in the back with the supplies. When Richie opened the door to exit the truck, the neighbor turned and shot at him, shattering the windshield. Steve heard the shot and dropped the propane cylinder and ran around to the driveway. When the neighbor fired at Richie and broke the window, David reached for his dad's Smith & Wesson that was in his waistband. The neighbor saw him as he turned back and fired twice, hitting David in the chest and throwing him violently backward onto the ground. With blood everywhere, it was clear that David was dead. At that same moment, Steve fired twice with his M4, hitting the neighbor in the chest and head. He too was now dead. Steve and Richie ran over to David to see if there was anything they could do, but it was clear that he was gone. They put Josh in the front seat and loaded David's body in the back. Steve jumped him back as well, and they drove back to the church without incident. They arrived at dusk, and Jolie confirmed what they already knew, that David was in fact dead. Jolie took Josh by the hand, and together they walked in to see Catherine. She wasn't well to begin with and took the news extremely hard. The mood at dinner was somber and quiet. Josh was in his first year at Bible college. He was Aaron's right-hand man during his time in the teen group. He wanted to be a youth pastor himself someday. He had a great sense of humor and a love for kids. He wanted to share his love for the Lord with others, and he deeply desired to serve in youth ministry. A couple years earlier, while working toward his Eagle Scout designation, he designed and built a stairway from the lower lot up to the church front driveway. He built it out of paver stones. Church members could support the project by purchasing a stone which he had engraved with their name and favorite verse of Scripture. He enlisted other members of the teen group to assist in the construction and worked on it for over a year. When completed, there was a ceremony that promoted him to Eagle Scout. There were high-ranking scouting officials present, and when the stairway was unveiled, He was beaming with that ear-to-ear smile that he was known for. He really was a great young man. Aaron pulled him aside and told him to grab his stuff from the classroom downstairs and move up to the couch in his living room. He said it would be warmer there, but I think he just wanted to have him close to try to console him and to keep an eye on him. They moved his stuff up, and they sat on the back deck, talking alone for most of the evening. Greg and Lee sat in the garage monitoring the radios. They were oddly silent as well. Steve had a programmable scanner and was able to isolate 5 different frequencies that the security force at the middle school had been using. They had a system for communicating where they would just say a few sentences and then it would stop. Steve figured out that they were changing frequencies mid-conversation to avoid anyone breaching their comm security. He was able to program the scanner to monitor those 5 frequencies, and we could hear everything that they said without disruption. Greg was puzzled as to why he didn't hear anything from them since early this afternoon. Everyone started to slowly retire for the night. When Linda and I walked across the lot to go up to the choir loft to turn in, we saw Josh and Jolie sitting together on the swing. Aaron had first watch in the tower. Greg asked him to make note of any traffic in or out of the school property that he could see.